I want to talk about when complacency becomes the interruption in recovery. We will do all the things necessary. We'll completely surrender to get clean and to start to change our lives. And we start getting things back. We become more emotionally stable. And there are periods, and I've heard many people talk about forgetting. I think as humans, we forget all the time that the things that we did, the day before, the food that we ate the day before, the books that we read the day before, the consciousness work that we did on ourselves, perspective shifting, the prayer, the meditation isn't gonna keep us for the next day. Like, it is necessary that we are feeding the spirit, because if we don't feed the spirit, we're feeding something, right? And so we could be feeding Delulu, we could be feeding our ego, we could be feeding, the distortions in our life that were taken on early from our parents. We adopt those things from trauma. We start to create these survival mechanisms that we then call our identity, and, is not us at all. It's choices that we have made, and they worked at some point. And so, okay, we start to shift. And I want to talk about how complacency can be this beautiful spiritual interruption in our lives, because it's going to give us holy shit contrast. Like, holy shit contrast. You go from feeling really good, really connected to yourself, connected to God, connected to other people, and then you get complacent and you stop doing those things and you start to forget. And that forgetfulness starts to put space between me and you, space between you and yourself, space between you and the divine. And it starts to feel a certain way. Now, this feeling is very important. It is just a feeling, but it has information. And, we talk about emotions in recovery, but, let's talk about emotions as information for us. It's to give us information on what to do next. And so, okay, if we start to suffer, if we start to, become lonely, then all of a sudden we're going to take action from those feelings. And so we may pick up self-pity. We might pick up the victim. We might start to get defensive, all these things. And so we start to act out these other versions of ourselves because we're feeding the ego. We're feeding survival mode. We forget that we're connected. We forget that we are holy. We forget that we are so, so powerful in the spirit. That spirit is not separate from us. The power that we are surrendering to isn't separate. We are an offspring of that power. And so this interrupts our life, where we get to make a new decision. We get to go, oh shit, wait a second. And luckily I have people in my life that when I get complacent, my wife's going to tell me you are complacent. My wife's going to tell me get your ass to a meeting, or you need to call your sponsor, you need to go pray, or something's off, or and then we get to start having that conversation of like, whoa, yeah, I put work in front of my recovery. I put my relationship in front of my recovery. All those things are important to me, but at the end of the day, if recovery doesn't come first, if I don't treat this one little part of me, this one little part, right? We talk about the disease of addiction, right? This fatal part of my makeup, that if I don't do those things, like, I could pick up again. And if I pick up again, there's specific outcomes, death, jails and institutions. And, I never did full jail time, but I've gotten arrested. I spent, I think 14 visits to different long-term treatment centers, rehabs, detoxes. Right. I've overdosed 14 times. My heart stopped. And luckily, the spirit was with me, and there was people there to Narcan me. So it's like, okay, we got to treat this fucking thing. We got to treat this thing first. And if we do that, all things can be added on upon our lives. And actually, what's really beautiful is that if it wasn't for my disease, if it wasn't for my dis-ease, knowing that something was missing, that connection was missing, that connection with God was missing, that connection with you was missing, the connection with myself was missing, and we didn't know, another interruption, that I wouldn't know that I needed it. And so it becomes the addiction code, the code placed in me to remind me that, listen, people are walking dead that don't have the disease of addiction, don't have connection with the divine, and they're walking dead. They're miserable. They're hurting. They have no faith. There's apathy. We get to have a program of recovery and whatever that looks like. You know, there's other ways to get clean that haven't worked for me, but that worked for other people. You know, there is a difference between an addict and a hard user. And a hard user will have things go on in their life, and they could put the drug down, and then they can, you know, have drinks every once in a while, and they're not using every day, and they don't lose control. It's not who I am. That's not my story. And I'm a full blown addict. I went past the line where it doesn't matter what it is. If it is a mind altering substance, I am going to use it until I'm half dead. Or just in a bad situation. And it could be sleeping meds. It doesn't matter what it is. I'm going to abuse the shit out of it. And I have tried to stop on my own. I've tried many different ways. I've tried plant medicine. I've tried all the things, right? Above and beyond. I'm an overachiever. I couldn't figure out another way. And so, you know, I have gone through 12-step programs, but I also have taken my whole life to understand spirituality, you know, at every level, manifestation, all of these things, because my whole being knows that that's where I'm supposed to be. That is who I am. I was a spiritual little being when I was little psychic little being, seeing things that other people didn't see, hearing things that other people didn't hear, and like telling people messages when I was little. And then I forgot who I was. I forgot that version of me. I forgot that I was a sensitive soul because my body was built. My nervous system is built in a way so that it's picking up on all this information so that I can gather it and I can be this divine energy that I am on earth in a human form, and integrate all of it in this human form. And so, you know, complacency can be, if you don't pick up, and even when you pick up, if you make it back, you're going to get a ton of information on why you relapse, where you started to relapse, because the relapse starts months and months and months before you actually pick up you'll just start cutting corners. You'll start getting dishonest. You'll start hiding. You'll start doing all these things. And so, you know, I recently got complacent. And I say complacent because I thought that I had enough foundation to just be okay. And I'm learning that this disease is very smart, and it will come in all these different ways. And my being will try to find something outside of myself to make me feel better, instead of going to the source, going to my source and plugging in and finding ways and means to survive on this planet, and not just survive, but thrive, completely thrive on this planet and create something that's quite wonderful. So, yeah. Can you let your complacency be the interruption to take some action, to do something different, to get really friggin' honest with yourself and just course correct? Come on now.